Very good morning to all of you. I'm Dr. Parul Chopra Button, Senior Consultant Obstetrics and Gynecology in Cloud9, Sector 14, Gurgaon. And on behalf of Cloud9 Hospitals, I welcome you all to our live session today on a very pertinent and relevant topic, pregnancy and childbirth in the times of COVID-19. We've received a lot of interest and a lot of questions beforehand. As an introduction, there's not much. By way of an introduction, we've been in the middle of pandemic since March 2020. We're all, as healthcare workers and as the human species, are trying to understand it and trying to collaborate and get through this time as safely and as comfortably as possible. So I think without much ado, I'll just get into the few questions that we've received already. One of the first questions that pregnant women have sent us is, am I, as a pregnant woman, more prone to this infection? And if I do get it, am I more prone to the complications arising from it? Fortunately, the research gives us a very reassuring answer to this. As pregnant women, the pregnant women form a special part of the population. Pregnancy is not a disease, but it is a special physiological state. And because the baby is inside of you, the stakes, so to say, heighten. Fortunately, pregnant women are not at a higher risk of catching the infection. Also, the percentage of women getting complications is nearly the same as the general population. So pregnant women are not at a particularly higher risk of getting the complications due to COVID-19. At the same time, as we've discussed, the stakes are higher. Therefore, the precautions, we emphasize on pregnant women taking more precautions so as to protect themselves and their newborns from this disease. We have another question here. How does one get the COVID-19 infection? COVID-19 is it's a viral infection caused by the novel coronavirus. This originated perhaps somewhere in Wuhan, China, towards the end of 2019, which is where the 19 comes from. This coronavirus is believed to have jumped species, and which it was earlier seen only in the animal kingdom amongst the bats and pangolins, and now is spreading to human beings as well. The unique feature is that it can spread from one human being to another, and the spread is now not limited to animal to human transmission. The mode of transmission of this disease is droplet infection, which essentially means that if I, as a person, am infected with COVID-19, if I cough and sneeze, the droplets, the secretions that come out of my mouth and nose, they are carrying the virus. Now, if I sneeze in the open, or if I cough in the open, if I use a handkerchief, or if I sneeze on my hand, cough on my hand, and then I touch something. So if I touch a phone, or if I touch a doorknob, or if I touch a bottle of water, then the virus gets transmitted from my hand to those objects, which is called as fomites. And when someone else, a healthy person, comes and touches those, the virus spreads from those objects to their hands. When they touch their mouth or eat, let's say, eat food or touch their nose, rub their eyes, the virus then goes into their nose and mouth and eyes, and this upper respiratory tract from the nose and mouth, the virus goes within their body and infects them. So the primary method of protecting oneself from COVID-19 is to avoid physical contact with as many people as possible, to certainly avoiding contact with people who have symptoms of cold, cough, fever, or have been proven to have COVID-19. And thirdly, to avoid contact with objects, with physical objects as far as possible. Hence, all are advised of social distancing, wearing masks in public, avoiding going out unless it's absolutely necessary, particularly for pregnant women. Sanitizing your hands frequently, using an alcohol-based sanitizer, or washing your hands thoroughly for 30 seconds. All of this advice stems from the fact that we want to avoid contact between the virus and your hands. Second, we want to avoid contact between your hands and your face and mouth. All these precautions, which have been now well publicized in the media, are very effective at preventing the spread of this virus. As of now, we do not have any evidence of mass air transfer of the virus, which is a reassuring finding. Secondly, in India, most of the people who have gotten infected have had a mild or asymptomatic disease. So I think the one thing that we can certainly get rid of now is the fear or the panic associated with it. Precautions, yes. Panic, no. So I think there has been, yeah. Is it, we have a question from a client, a viewer, Bhavneet. She says, is it a right time to conceive now, keeping in mind the COVID cases? Uh, this is a very responsible question, I would say. A lot of people who have been planning a pregnancy now wonder whether it is the right time to take their plans forward. This is a very individual decision, whether to conceive now or not. I think it rests on two primary thought processes. One is that this pandemic, we do not know how long it's going to last. Um, it could be another couple of months, it could be perhaps a year, maybe longer. So, women who have been holding off on their pregnancy plans and maybe who are in their 30s or who would now, for whom this is an important time, and losing time further could actually be detrimental to their reproductive career. I think, yes, looking at your individual condition, you can actually go ahead and conceive. At the same time, if you are younger or if you don't feel all that prepared for a childbirth or the responsibility of parenting right away, certainly waiting is possible. The good thing about the massive number of COVID-19 cases that we've had is that a majority of them have recovered. I do not keep up with statistics every day, but a couple of days back when I was looking at the statistics for Delhi, it said 1,30,000 total COVID cases, out of which 1,16,000 had recovered. So that is a reassuring finding. If yes, you have plans for pregnancy, I would suggest a preconception visit to your doctor. There are a few things that we assess when a couple comes to us prior to pregnancy. There are ways in which we can ensure that you conceive in a more healthful manner. Your pregnancy is fitter, healthier. You're likely to have a healthier baby at the end of it. So having a preconception visit is one thing that I would suggest. And then individualizing plans as per your age, your reproductive history, your social factors, your medical history. Depending on all of that, if you choose to conceive and if the doctor advises so, I think you can certainly go ahead with plans for conception. We have, we have a question by viewer Sukriti who says, what precautions should be taken after conceiving? The two good things are, number one, COVID-19 has not been shown to increase the risk of miscarriage in early pregnancy. That is a very reassuring and a positive research finding that we have. The second is that COVID-19 is, as a viral infection, is not known to increase the risk of birth defects or increase the risk of adverse pregnancy outcomes in terms of preterm labor or issues with the baby or the mother per se during pregnancy. Now, precautions are of utmost importance and they will continue throughout your pregnancy period. So for those who are pregnant, who are in their early pregnancy, the same precautions that I enlisted before of social distancing, maintaining a distance of 6 feet from anybody else in public places, avoid going to public places altogether, work from home as far as possible, stay indoors, use a mask when you go outside, use alcohol-based sanitizers, wash your hands frequently, particularly before and after eating food. All of these precautions must continue through pregnancy. In the event that you do get COVID-19 in pregnancy, you're likely to have a mild or asymptomatic disease, in which case a close contact with your healthcare provider. So there will be a team caring for you. There'll be an obstetrician, gynecologist looking after you. There'll be a physician who's going to be looking after you. In the majority of cases now, we are able to care for patients at their own home. So through teleconsultation, through the use of technology, we keep in close contact. Routine pregnancy care also gets altered because we encourage more of teleconsultation visits to avoid exposure to you, to avoid exposure to the other pregnant women. The visits are distanced in the clinic as well, in the hospitals as well. So all of those precautions will continue through pregnancy. And if you do test positive, then the treatment protocols will also focus more on first triaging you. If you have severe disease, no question, you have to be admitted in a hospital, and the care will be then according to the guidelines. Fortunately, we now have quite a bit of evidence available. We've had the experience of over 3 months with this pandemic. Lots of scientists, doctors, healthcare staff, everybody's working relentlessly to know more, understand more, and our protocols have evolved. We are now in a much better understanding than what we were in maybe the beginning of March. So the care is now altered accordingly, and we have far better outcomes now than we had a couple of weeks or months ago. So protection during COVID-19 in pregnancy, I think it's the same question. Please follow all the guidelines of sanitization, physical distancing, etc. Reach your healthcare provider early if you feel you have any of the symptoms of COVID-19. And that incidentally is also the next question. What are the symptoms of COVID-19? And Rohit asks, is there any difference in the symptoms of coronavirus disease for pregnant women? So the main symptoms of COVID-19 are the general non-specific symptoms of any virus illness. For example, fever, chills, cold, cough, malaise, body ache, muscle pains, fatigue, maybe nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and all these symptoms may be seen in pregnant women as well. The one unique feature of COVID-19 is loss of a sense of smell and taste. So if you notice that you aren't being able to smell as well, and or the taste of food, you aren't being able to differentiate much, or the taste has really reduced, then that is one of the indications that you should speak with your healthcare provider and perhaps undergo testing. The unique thing about COVID symptoms in pregnancy is that a lot of these symptoms overlap. As a normal pregnant woman, you may feel fatigue sometimes. Nausea, vomiting is often a part of normal pregnancy. You may feel feverish, but when you measure temperature, it may be 97, 98. Sometimes there is a slight feverish feeling in pregnancy, especially early pregnancy, which is also common. So a lot of these symptoms overlap with symptoms of pregnancy. So my suggestion would be, do not panic if you notice any such symptoms. However, be in close contact with your healthcare providers. Most of us now have started teleconsultation services so that you do not need to visit the hospital physically every single time or the clinic. And I would recommend if these symptoms are persisting, if they are out of ordinary, if you feel they have increased over and above what they were before, certainly reach out to your doctor. She will assess you, and if she feels it is pertinent, she will also be suggesting a test for COVID-19. Okay, Nazia asks a question. I am pregnant and a healthcare worker. Can I work with patients who are potentially infected with COVID-19? Kudos, Nazia, first and foremost. You are actually shouldering a dual responsibility, which is wonderful, and also quite challenging at this time, being pregnant yourself and a healthcare worker where you are dealing with and caring for other people at the time of this pandemic. The labor laws and these are some suggestions from the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, where they say that healthcare workers who are pregnant themselves, they should be given the choice and the priority about how would they want to go ahead with their professional life as well as with caring for their own personal health at this time. If it is possible, my recommendation would be that as a pregnant woman, your contact with a COVID-19 patient should be minimized as far as possible. There are other ways in which you can support your department and support your services. If absolutely necessary and you do have to come in contact with somebody who's COVID-19, certainly make sure that you use all the protection that is available. Personal protective equipment, which is the PPE kits, they should be available for you. You must first don the whole PPE kit, from the gown to the gloves to the goggles to the masks, footwear cover. After donning the PPE kit, only should you be in contact with a person who has potentially is infected with COVID-19. After completing your duties, the doffing procedure should be followed exactly as per guidelines. And you should perhaps have shorter shifts so that as a pregnant woman, you're not donning a particular PPE for 6 hours, 8 hours. It'll become extremely uneasy for you. And see how can you balance both of these. wanting to continue your professional duties, at the same time taking utmost care of yourself and your pregnancy, which is something important not only for you, but for us as well as a society to look after you at this very crucial and important time. Megha asks a question. Hello, ma'am. I'm in 32 weeks. My QUE is in this pandemic condition. Before delivery, COVID test is compulsory in every hospital. So in case COVID test is positive, so in that condition, what will we do for that? Okay. So yes, as healthcare providers and as a hospital, we are trying to increase the safety for all the women who visit our facility, who deliver with us. And therefore, one of the protocols that has been instituted in most of the hospitals now is testing for COVID-19 prior to hospital admission. Most of the women test negative for COVID-19, and then the hospital has been triaged. So there are different areas. There is a labor room, a dedicated OT, dedicated rooms for women who've tested negative, and routine care for after admission in pregnancy can be carried out for them. In case a woman tests positive for COVID-19, then she will be isolated in a different part of the hospital. The team caring for her will be dedicated to her. The team will not be going and looking after other pregnant women as well, so as to avoid potential transfer of the virus. As doctors and as healthcare workers, one thing that I would like to reassure you, Megha, is we are committed to caring for you whether or not you have COVID or any other infection in pregnancy. Therefore, even if you test positive, we will continue to provide you services. Just ensure that the hospital that you're delivering in is well equipped to handle both childbirth, labor, delivery, as well as should a complication arise. In case the hospital does not have inpatient facilities to deal with the complications of COVID-19, referral towards a higher center which has both the capabilities should be arranged at the earliest. Most of the women who test positive for COVID-19, again, have a mild disease, and it does not impact your labor and delivery to a great extent. We will be looking at normal delivery is certainly possible with COVID-19. We do not need to usually shift the timing of labor earlier or later. If the COVID-19 infection comes and then passes off and you're still pregnant, delivery happens whenever it happens as per the obstetric condition. If, however, you test positive right around the time of your delivery, then yes, the precautions will be taken accordingly, but we will look after you in the hospital. The doctors, the staff, we're all committed to make sure that your experience of childbirth is as safe as possible, both for you and for your baby. Okay. Seema has a question. She says, is it okay to skip prenatal care appointments during the current situation? Thanks to all the engineers and the software professionals and all, we have excellent technology available in today's time. Teleconsultation services have come up in a big way. And instead of skipping an appointment, my suggestion would be in close contact with your doctor, both for your physical safety as well as for emotional and mental support that one derives from an antenatal appointment with an obstetrician. Do not skip the appointment, but see how can you mix and match. So most of the prenatal care appointments can be taken online. Video consultation services are available. Cloud9 Hospital has teleconsultation services. So once the pandemic started, this was all a gearing up, and all of these services have safe, effective, and convenient services have come up. So my advice would be make full use of these services. There are some appointments when a doctor needs to examine you, or maybe blood sample needs to be given and ultrasound needs to be done. Combine those visits together. So don't visit the hospital 2 or 3 times, one for an appointment, then for an ultrasound, then maybe for a blood test. As doctors, we are also trying to combine all of these together so that one visit in the hospital and then maybe the subsequent visits can happen online. When you visit the hospital, make sure you're wearing a mask, make sure you're sanitizing yourself, make sure you take a bath soon after returning from the hospital. We've also distanced the appointments in the hospital. So again, to add to your safety, the appointments are not as close together as they used to be. Crowding in the waiting areas and all, also there's an endeavor to minimize as far as possible. So do not lose touch with your doctor, but utilize technology, utilize these adjustments that we've made, so that ensuring full safety from the point of view of COVID-19, You also ensure excellent care and safety from the point of view of pregnancy care. I have a question from Jessica who says, we are planning a second baby. Is it advisable to plan at this time of the pandemic, or should we wait for some time? Again, we had a similar question early on. So it's a very individualized decision, Jessica. We do not know how long this pandemic will last. We do not know how the world will change post this pandemic. So my suggestion to you would be, depending on your age, depending on your medical history, depending on your hormonal profile, depending on the social support that you can get. A lot of social factors have changed in the time of this pandemic, whether your parents will be able to come and be with you, whether you will be able to get enough help available, you have a child already, then to have a newborn to care for. How does your work life change? Are you working? Do you have the work from home option? Looking at all of these factors, it is hard to say because we don't know when will the situation change. I think a preconception appointment with your doctor would be a good idea, and where you can really discuss all your concerns, not only from medical or reproductive point of view, but also social, emotional, financial, looking at taking into account all of these aspects, and then take an individualized decision with your doctor. If you choose to conceive at this time, we would fully support you as doctors, and all the best to arrive to the decision that is right for you, and then to carry it forward in the safest manner possible. Okay. There is a question from Shipra. Is COVID-19 worse in pregnant women? Again, we'd spoken about this earlier. Most of the research suggests that COVID-19 is not more severe during pregnancy as compared to the general population. So you're not particularly at a higher risk, and also you're not particularly at higher risk of complications arising from COVID-19. There is a question from Aarti that says, is 37 weeks baby considered as full term, and what can we do to increase the fetal weight? Well, Aarti, 37 completed weeks, yes, is considered as full term. It doesn't mean that we get the baby out at 37 weeks unless it is specifically indicated in some cases. I usually say, so while we say not every baby at 37 weeks behaves the same, not every baby who's 39 weeks behaves the same. So depending on the individual pregnancy, if all is going well, 37 weeks, while it is full term, the pregnancy can continue on for another 3.5, 4 weeks. So full term is actually, it's not one point which is full term. Full term is a phase in pregnancy. So after starting from 37 weeks, right up to the due date, which is 40 weeks, there's all these 3 weeks, all these 21 days are a part of full term. Sometimes in certain cases, we can wait even beyond the due date for a couple of days, and that also then combines and forms the full term phase. Beyond 42 weeks, actually, we call it post-term, but in today's date, hardly any pregnancies reach that time if you have been under regular care. What can we do to increase the fetal weight? I think all the precautions that you take in pregnancy by maintaining a healthy lifestyle, looking after your nutrition, having a good balance of physical activity and rest. One of the most important things is to ensure that you have a stress-free, happy and positive outlook. When a mother is stressed, stress hormones are released in her blood and they reach the baby. And these stress hormones then have an impact on the baby's weight. The baby's weight is an incidental, it's an outcome of a lot of factors, some that are under your control, some that are not under your control. So instead of really obsessing about the fetal weight, what it is and how can you really titrate it, because you cannot titrate it to that direct a degree. At the same time, by maintaining a healthy lifestyle, you can ensure that you've provided the best conditions for this baby to thrive. Then whatever the potential of this baby is likely to achieve the full growth potential and come out at a healthy birth weight. It's very encouraging to see a lot of questions appearing during this. Okay, this I believe is a question from a healthcare provider. This is Ms. Manasa. She says, one of my patient aged 28 has dilated cardiomyopathy. This is a condition, it's a heart disease. And she is anxious to conceive, and her rejection fraction is 48% with medication. This is a little tricky situation. While we say COVID-19 is not particularly worse in pregnant women, women who have certain comorbidities, for example, pre-existing diabetes, women who have heart disease, these women are at a particularly higher risk of complications because of the pre-existing comorbidities per se. And dilated cardiomyopathy is it's one of the serious conditions to deal with in pregnancy. The ejection fraction of 48% is nearly normal, but it is with medication. I believe the few things that I would, her age is 28. She has heart disease and is on medication, is holding up well with medication. For this particular patient, my suggestion would be to wait for a couple of months. Let us see where this pandemic is headed. Once this additional danger of COVID-19 passes, maybe then it would be a time to have an individualized discussion with her. Right now does not seem to be a very good time to consider pregnancy for this particular patient of yours. We have a question from Asha Yadav who says, can I have a normal delivery as I had a C-section 5 years ago? I believe this is a general question and not perhaps related to COVID. Well, Asha, if you've had one cesarean section 5 years ago and you're pregnant now, depending on a lot of factors, a normal delivery certainly is possible. We call it VBAC, which is vaginal birth after cesarean. And depending on the individual factors such as what is your weight, what is your height, how is the pelvis, what is the position of the baby, whether you're pregnant with twins or whether you have a single baby, is the baby in the breech position, or what is the exact position of the baby, what is the weight of the baby, what is the water level like around. Looking at all of these factors, do you have any other comorbidities like diabetes or hypertension in pregnancy? Looking at all of these factors, if most of them are favorable, yes, normal delivery is certainly possible after one cesarean section, provided that was a lower segment cesarean section. So there are a lot of factors to consider in the previous delivery as well as this one, whether it is a recurring indication, why was that cesarean section done, how was it done, what was the kind of incision given to you. So all of these factors combined and a detailed individualized discussion with your doctor will help you to get the answer for yourself, whether you can have a normal delivery or not. But per se, a normal delivery certainly is possible if most of the factors that I mentioned are favorable. Tripti has a question. If I contact COVID-19, will I still be able to breastfeed? That is a wonderful question, Tripti. And as expectant mothers, our sometimes primary concern, even before our own health, is that of our baby. And breastfeeding has so many advantages, both to the mother and to the baby. It is one of, medically the advantages are endless, but spiritually and emotionally, it is an experience of a lifetime. If a woman gets COVID-19, breastfeed, so again, the decision is an individualized one. How severe is your disease? If a woman with COVID-19 has only mild symptoms or does not have any symptoms, is physically healthy and is able to breastfeed, all the necessary support should be provided to her to enable breastfeeding. Now, the two major precautions are, number one is hand hygiene. She must wash her hands thoroughly, sanitize her hands before handling the baby. She must wear a mask at the time of breastfeeding, and direct latching of the baby can be supported in her case. If the woman is apprehensive and would not want to breastfeed directly, however, it can express breast milk, then that is the second best strategy that can be considered for her. She can express the breast milk. Again, 2 or 3 precautions there. Hand hygiene is very important. She must wash her hands thoroughly for 30 seconds prior to starting the pumping. A dedicated breast pump should be used. She should wear a mask while she's pumping the milk. All sterility precautions should be undertaken. She may express the milk and hand over to a healthy volunteer, a healthy family member or staff, who can then feed the baby. COVID-19, in most mild asymptomatic cases, is a disease that lasts about 10 to 14 days. And as soon as she tests negative, she can then be closely roomed in with her baby. The second condition where a mother is very sick, where unfortunately she has very severe disease, she has breathing difficulty, she needs oxygen support. In those cases, I think direct breastfeeding might be a challenge. And in those cases, expressed feeding or with donor human milk, you know, um, as a supplementary feeding should be done for the baby till the time the mother recovers and is well enough to either express her own milk or breastfeed directly. Tanya has a question. What should I do if I'm pregnant and I get sick? Now, the common symptoms of COVID-19, like I'd mentioned before, if in pregnancy you notice a worsening or a new onset of any of these symptoms like fever, cold, cough, loss of sense of smell, loss of a sense of taste, if you notice muscle pains, fatigue, body aches, if you notice nausea, worsening of nausea, vomiting, maybe a little diarrhea, any of these symptoms, you should speak to your healthcare provider. Step one, I would recommend consider teleconsultation if your symptoms are not severe enough. Through teleconsultation, your provider will be able to assess whether or not you should be tested for COVID-19. If she suspects the infection, she will recommend testing for it. Now, testing also, most of the labs have been able to arrange home testing so as to avoid a visit of a potentially infected person coming in contact with other people. Book the test, so the hospitals will be able to book the test for you. A person wearing the proper personal protective equipment will come at a decided time to your place. Nasopharyngeal swabs will be taken. These are two swabs. These are simple cotton-tipped swabs, and the sample is taken as the secretions from the back of the throat and the back of the nose. The results, the test that we do is the RT-PCR, which is the reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction. A doctor can advise this test for you if needed. The results are available in 12 to 24 hours, and the results are quite reliable. The sensitivity and specificity of these tests is good. If you test negative, however, the symptoms persist, I would recommend you continue to follow the precautions of social distancing and home isolate yourself. Maybe a repeat test would be needed in that case. If the symptoms subside and you test negative, well, continue to take the precautions so as not to get infected in future. And if you do test positive, most of the cases can be managed at home with home isolation and with basic remedies. However, a close contact with your doctor via teleconsultation services, maybe video calls or so, is important. At the same time, you need to know when to come to the hospital. If any of the symptoms, if any of the following symptoms appear, for example, you start noticing a shortness of breath, breathing difficulty, you start noticing bluing of your lips, bluing of the earlobes, bluing of the tips of the finger or the toes, you notice dizziness, loss of consciousness, you notice extreme weakness, you notice confusion. So one of the things that as healthcare providers we assess when we talk to a patient via video call is how alert, how oriented and is this person. So if you notice a deterioration in any of these parameters, please reach the hospital emergency room at the earliest. And if you are already in contact with the doctor will make sure that the hospital is informed and the emergency is already ready to receive you and give you the best care possible. In severe cases, hospitalization is necessary, and excellent care can be provided to ensure that further complications of COVID-19 do not occur and you recover uneventfully. Okay, Gurpreet has an interesting question. She says, I am in my 8th month. I have very mixed feelings going on in my mind. Sometimes I feel excited. At the same time, I'm tensed and anxious, also thinking about life after baby birth. Gurpreet, pregnancy is like, the way I see it, sometimes is like the most exciting roller coaster possible. The pendulum of our emotions swings the widest in pregnancy and in the days soon after childbirth. So this 1 year of the 9 months of pregnancy and the first 3-4 months after you've had your baby, you will notice a lot of heightening of the emotions. Happiness is not just happiness, it is extreme happiness, ecstasy, tears of joy flowing, excitement. Suddenly a small worry will also get heightened and will become extremely excruciating, Anxiety levels will go through the roof, tearfulness, irritability, anger, sleeplessness. All of these are seen very commonly in pregnancy. Um, I have been a doctor and I've dealt with pregnant women over the last nearly 2 decades now. Uh, the one thing that I've realized is pregnancy, it's like a very fertile ground. It's like a ground emotionally and spiritually which is extremely well prepared. And the smallest of seed, when it is sown, it has the potential to quickly grow into a big plant and a big tree. Where we do have some degree of control is in what seeds do we sow. Once the seeds have been sown, it'll grow up really fast, and beyond a point, then our control on that growth becomes quite less. So be watchful. What is it that you're paying attention to in your consciousness? One of the things that I heard in a spiritual lecture and that really helps me is when we are walking outside, there are birds encircling above in the sky, and we cannot control that. However, can we prevent a bird from sitting on our head and making a nest? Yes, you can prevent that. Just like that, there will be a lot of thoughts coming, a lot of thoughts going. Allow them to come and allow them to go. Be watchful of which thought are you paying the most attention to, and allowing it to grow into this big emotional. I'm short of words here. Into this big emotional thing that you now have to deal with. The one thing that really helps at this time is to have excellent support. See what works for you. Meditation is an excellent practice, not just in the times of this COVID-19, but even otherwise during pregnancy. It is one of the most spiritually transforming journey. So see, there are so many meditation apps available. There are so many organizations. There are so many spiritual gurus now who impart this knowledge and impart this training. See which one works for you, which one do you most resonate with, and start practicing that. A good social support in terms of friends, family, people who've been through their pregnancy before you, that really helps. Having a supportive partner is the most wonderful blessings of a pregnancy. And to your partner, I would urge you to, just give that space to her where she can air these emotions, where she can, talk them out, maybe start journaling, write them out, speak with a therapist if you feel you need help and they're getting too out of hand. Speak with your obstetrician and gynecologist because she would understand the journey of pregnancy and these emotional changes the most. Gather all the support that you can. You do not have to carry this pregnancy alone. The baby, yes, physically is inside your body and you are nurturing the baby physically alone at this time. But socially and emotionally, this pregnancy belongs to all of us as a species, and I think it behooves us as a society, us as doctors, as healthcare providers, to make sure that a wonderful support system is in place, and where you're not feeling ashamed of these feelings, you're not feeling hapless, you're not feeling hopeless, you're not feeling helpless, but at the same time you're feeling supportive and you're feeling supported. And together, this time will get easier. Okay, there is a question by Sushila. She says, what are things I should keep in mind while giving birth to my child during COVID? So, Sushila, like I said, the standard precautions of social distancing and wearing a mask and avoiding contact and hand hygiene should be practiced stringently by all pregnant women and the staff. Childbirth, if you have an asymptomatic infection or a mild infection, you will be cared for in a facility which has special arrangements for a person infected with COVID-19. But both normal deliveries are possible, normal deliveries are encouraged. If the need arises for a cesarean section, that can also be done. If a person is infected with COVID-19, due precautions will be taken by the staff and by the people handling the mother and the baby. After childbirth, our primary concern, one is the safety of both mother and baby, second is the breastfeeding part. So depending on how severe is your infection, If it is mild or asymptomatic and you would like to breastfeed, all support needs to be given so that you can breastfeed your baby at this time. If your infection is severe, then maybe the baby will need to be cared for separately and till the time that you recover. In case of severe infection, intensive care admission might be needed. And if that is so, the doctors will look after you till the time that you recover well enough, and then you can be roomed in with your baby. Okay, there is another question. Okay, there's a question by Prerna. She says, I am pregnant and suffering from cold and cough. Is it safe to take few antibiotics? Well, Prerna, as a principle, antibiotics should never be consumed without the prescription of a qualified doctor. So do not self-medicate, number one. Second, arrange a teleconsultation visit with your doctor. If need be, visit the clinic or the hospital in person for an examination. And since you have cold and cough, the doctor will assess whether you need testing for COVID or not. If yes, go ahead with the test. If not, cold and cough are usually caused by viral illnesses. Antibiotics are not directly helpful against viral illnesses. And my advice would be, do not consider antibiotic use by yourself. If the doctor feels that antibiotics are indicated in your case, they will be prescribing the specific antibiotic, which is safe in pregnancy and also effective for the condition that you have. Okay. There is a question by Neha. She says, is there a difference on how COVID-19 affects children as compared to adults? Well, fortunately, COVID-19 does not impact children severely. So either asymptomatic disease is seen or very mild symptoms are seen. And children are one part of the population which seem to be naturally not very susceptible to this infection. So that is the one, I would say, positive difference, that at least our children are not at as high a risk as maybe adults are or adults with comorbidities are. Some children who may be suffering from additional comorbidities, for example, children who have diabetes or children who have cancers and are on chemotherapy, or children who have kidney disease, etc. Those children need to be protected more stringently from COVID-19 because in them, the immune system changes and they might not be able to fight off the infection as effectively as a healthy child. So barring that subpopulation of children, COVID-19 usually has very mild symptoms or no symptoms at all in children, and children are protected. Okay. There is a question by Nandini. She says, can a mother with confirmed or suspected COVID-19 stay together with her baby in the same room? Well, Nandini, after delivery, one of our primary concerns is to ensure the latching of the baby, ensure breastfeeding, not only for the physical health of both the mother and the baby, but also for the emotional, psychological health in the long term of both the mother and the baby. Now, if a mother has tested positive for COVID-19, if she has mild disease or asymptomatic disease, if she has less viral load, if she feels strong enough and healthy enough to care for her baby in the same room, yes, the baby can be roomed in. All precautions need to be taken. So the mother needs to wear a mask, the mother needs to sanitize her hands, the mother needs to follow strict hand hygiene. Preferably, a healthy volunteer should also look after wearing the personal protective equipment. She should look after both the mother and the baby so that the mother has help and is not left alone to care for her baby while she herself is recovering from a viral illness. Breastfeeding, like I mentioned before, needs to be supported. Direct feeding can be considered. If not possible, or if the mother is hesitant, then express breast milk can be provided to the baby. But rooming in, again, sometimes there may be challenges and in certain conditions where different rooms cannot be provided to the mother and the baby, in which case rooming in might be required. Sometimes the mother may strongly want to be roomed in with her baby, and we would like to support that choice, maintaining as far as possible the safety for both for the baby especially, and of course for the mother to not get a more severe disease. If you do have COVID-19, a lot of rest is needed, just like in any other viral illness. A new mother having COVID-19 has two challenges because she's just recovering from pregnancy, a 9-month pregnancy. She's recovering from the Impact of childbirth on her body and fatigue and tiredness is something that is very common. So support needs to be ensured. With support, yes, the baby can be roomed in. One precaution I would like to mention is do not cover the face of the newborn baby with a face shield or a mask. So the mother needs to wear a mask, maybe a shield, and follow hand hygiene. But please do not cover the face of a newborn baby with a face shield or a mask. They may have breathing difficulties and it can be quite dangerous. So the baby's face needs to be uncovered so that the baby can breathe well. The room in which the mother is being roomed in with the baby, negative air pressures need to be ensured so that the air circulation is also safe for her. So ensuring all these precautions, yes, rooming in can be considered even if a mother tests positive for COVID-19. Okay, Mehreen has a question. My child is completely dependent on me and now we are planning for second pregnancy. What tests should I do before that? Well, Mehreen, when you're planning a pregnancy, this is one of the most useful and most wonderful opportunities to visit your doctor at this time. Depending on your age, depending on how did you conceive the first child, how was your delivery, depending on your medical illnesses, whether you have any other comorbidities like diabetes, asthma, hypertension, you need to speak to your doctor once. I would recommend a teleconsultation visit is usually appropriate for such a discussion. Depending on your family history, you mentioned your child is completely dependent on you. Again, why is that? Is that because of the age of the child? Because the child is very young right now? Is that because there are special circumstances in the child because of which the child is totally dependent on you? All these factors need to be considered, and then certain tests are advised prior to conceiving. One of the common tests that we do is an HB electrophoresis. We look for a thalassemia screen. Since you have a child, if it has been done previously, good enough. If not, your doctor will recommend that for you. And other tests that we do are the rubella. We check for immunity to rubella, which is rubella IgG. We check for immunity to varicella if you've not had a history of chickenpox. Your blood group needs to be ascertained for sure if it is not already in place. Depending on your medical history, we would like to optimize you prior to conceiving. So depending on whatever illnesses there are, maybe thyroid, diabetes, or whatever illnesses there may be, some blood tests may be required so as to see that, so as to ensure that you enter pregnancy in your fittest possible state. Okay, there is a question by Pragya. A lot of people are wondering about planning their pregnancies at this time, and I would say it's a very responsible question because you're actually thinking about the whole situation before you jump into the pregnancy. Pragya says, is it wise to plan for a second pregnancy in this pandemic? She's 37 years old. Well, Pragya, I have been discussing this through this talk. Just to summarize, it is a very individualized decision. Since you're 37 years old, if you are very keen on a second pregnancy, maybe delaying it too much would not be very wise. At the same time, it depends on a lot of other factors. What are the kinds of, what are the other medical histories that you may have? How fit is your body right now? What is the kind of social support that you can expect during pregnancy and then soon after childbirth? The pandemic makes the social conditions a little different. Your parents may not be able to travel to be with you, or you may not be able to travel frequently to your to the social support that you may have in terms of your extended family. Those are the factors that need to be considered. So a joint discussion between you, your partner, your husband, your doctor, and your family. I think it would be a good idea to have maybe a consultation where all of, where you can sit together with your family and then discuss the medical factors which may be specific to you or to your history with your doctor, and then plan your pregnancy. If you do choose to plan, I wish you all the best in this endeavor. May you conceive soon, and then maybe you have a healthy pregnancy if you so choose to go ahead. Indu has a question. She says, Doctor, I get cold daily and her doctor has said that it is allergies. I have to consume cold relief every day. I'm planning a second baby. How will it impact pregnancy? Well, Indu, since you're planning a pregnancy, my advice would be to meet with a good physician or with your obstetrician and sort out this issue beforehand. Find out what is the particular allergen that is inciting this cold. See how you can avoid it. And once you have figured out the lifestyle changes that help you, minimize or prevent this cold, then planning a pregnancy would be a good idea. Taking cold relief medications in pregnancy, we would recommend them to a minimum. And since you've discovered this condition beforehand, it would be wise to take care of it first and then plan your pregnancy. There is, I have two more questions here. Okay, one of the questions that has come in online and has also been asked by a lot of my pregnant couples here is, will I get a bed in the hospital in emergency? Well, most of the hospitals who are looking after pregnant women, they do make arrangements and encourage the pregnant women to book their delivery in advance. So my recommendation would be, if your hospital has the booking facility, please do that. That helps them to assess the caseload that they will have and make arrangements accordingly. As doctors and as healthcare providers, let me reassure you, it is our endeavor to give you the best and the maximum possible care at this time of the pandemic. We understand that your needs may be higher at this time, and therefore the hospitals are really making an effort to ensure how can we best cater to the additional needs at this time. So book your delivery, and both government and the private sector, they're working hard to ensure that no pregnant woman, especially one who needs emergency obstetrics care, is around the time of delivery or has any emergency in pregnancy like bleeding or so, gets left behind and does not receive care. So every effort is being made that you will be provided a bed, you will be provided the expertise, the attention, the medicines by the doctors, by the nursing staff, and by the other support staff during your pregnancy. Okay, so there is a question, is it safe to visit a hospital at this time? What are the precautions taken by the hospital to ensure a safe environment for my baby's delivery? Well, most of the hospitals, and especially I can talk about my hospital here at Cloud9, Sector 14, Gurgaon, we are taking all the recommended precautions which are recommended by the government bodies, which are recommended by clinical organizations like the National Health Service, like the Federation of Obstetrics and Gynecology Societies of India, by the American College. So all the guidelines, we're keeping ourselves up to date with the guidelines, and we're enforcing as and when our understanding is increasing of this pandemic. To name a few, you would have noticed when you visit Cloud9 facility, there is a temperature check by the non-contact thermometer at the gate. Your appointments are being distanced so as to minimize crowding in the waiting areas. Off-site waiting is recommended in case you need to wait for a couple of minutes. We recommend you wait inside your car, and when the doctor is ready to see you, only then do you come into the facility. Sanitization of the facilities is being done. Fogging is being done on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis. Regular sanitization of all the places which have a tendency to be touched by hand. For example, the doorknobs or the sanitizer bottle itself. We're trying to have non-contact sanitizer dispensers. Hand sanitizers have been placed at multiple areas in the hospital, and we've restricted entry without a mask. So whoever's visiting the hospital premises is recommended that you wear a mask. The staff in the hospital is all wearing a mask. The doctors are wearing masks. Personal protective equipment is being used by the doctors and by the staff at whatever areas of the hospital that it is needed, certainly in ICU areas, in operating theaters, and other critical areas of the hospital. We've also begun a very important part of this care is the teleconsultation services, so as to minimize your visits to the hospital. A hospital visit is only recommended, when either if it's an emergency, then yes, you need to visit in person, or to combine it so that you can have the ultrasound, you can give the blood test and see your doctor in the same visit. So we're making all efforts to ensure that you can stay safe inside your home and consult us through teleconsultation, or when you visit the hospital, your exposure and the chances that you may catch an infection are minimized. Additionally, I would recommend when you go back from the hospital, please make sure you wash your hands thoroughly, you take a bath, and certainly wash your hands once again for 30 seconds before you eat your food. So very important to maintain these precautions. In the hospital, make sure you maintain a distance of at least 6 to 10 feet from any other person. That is there. Okay, I think that is all that we have. Okay. So these are all the questions. I hope I've answered most of them. If there are any further questions, please do send us in comments and we'll make every effort to answer them later as well. A final word that I would want to leave you with is pregnancy and childbirth is one of the most magical and spiritually uplifting times in our lives as human beings. It is a very unique thing that uh, there are women who are undergoing pregnancy or going through this period at the time of a pandemic, which has perhaps come into this world after about 100 years. Um, how we take it is a lot dependent upon us, upon the support system that we have, and I believe we as doctors and your family members as well, if we can all make a concerted effort, if we realize we're going through this together, and we can all collaborate to make it an even more spiritually uplifting and meditative experience, then perhaps this pandemic would have been worthwhile. Let us connect with what really matters to us in life. Let us welcome these new babies who are arriving in this world at a very special time with all the love and the care and the safety that we can ensure for them. Um, and hopefully the pandemic will end sooner than later. And we will look back at this time, perhaps having, while physically being distanced from each other, but maybe emotionally and spiritually having come much closer than before. So thank you very much for being with us on this live session. Wishing you all a very healthy pregnancy, a very safe and joyous childbirth, and a wonderful life here on. Thank you.